Please welcome Chris Duenas to the podium.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you, John, as well, Mr. President, for this invitation. First of all, I want to start by saying thank you for all of the work that you do and the civic engagement that you have making our community a better place, the Rotary Club of Northern Guam, and the things that you do. So I want to recognize your efforts and thank you for being a great part of this community, all of you. I'm actually the second string today. Cesar Villanueva, my special assistant, who's a subject matter expert, was going to be here today, but he's judging MagPro, recognizing government employees in excellence, and today, so you got me. Anyways, you know, I'm going to make this pretty concise because as the invitation basically expressed, one of the efforts here, I guess, and the understanding, most of you, this may be somewhat of a repeat or information that some of you may know being in the real estate and business community, but I wanted to highlight the two features that Guam Housing has really focused on in the last several years. And condolences once again to you, Joe. I stepped into big shoes with Martin Beneventi, the immediate past president, from myself. He did a wonderful job in formulating a lot of the programs that I will be discussing today, as well as advocating with the legislature for things we're going to discuss today. So we'll go with the first slide here. I'll just give you a brief overview and go through this quickly. I will highlight the areas that really are centered around economic development as well as affordable housing. So basically, what is Guam Housing? Once again, our objective is basically we examine Guam's housing market, analyze future housing needs, identify potential challenges, provide programs and recommendations to support the goal of adequate and affordable housing for the people of Guam. Next slide. This is a slide basically just kind of for your membership. I'm sure you'll circulate the email that I sent. It's just for your reference. Real quick slide. Current building density on the island of Guam and then the population density. You can see it somewhat matches up, although you have a lot of opportunity, maybe a little bit further south from central, maybe a little bit north as well. So just a tool for you to use if you get the presentation from your membership. Next slide. So this, once again, just a tool to use and something to understand. These are federally owned properties on Guam, so we just wanted to show you that and what that represents. Next slide. Okay, so here's where we kind of want to hone in. These are all, and we have brochures up here. These are all of the programs and that Guam Housing administers, basically our loan portfolio and other programs that we provide for the people of Guam. So I'm going to hone in today on the first-time homeowners grant program, as well as the affordable homes alternative systems. The rest of the stuff you can look online or check out through the brochure here to understand some of our other loaning programs. Most of you would not qualify in this room for our programs. We're B paper mortgage loans, but you may have constituents and the like, so you can look it up in our brochure on our website. But we want to hone in on the first-time homeowners grant program as well as affordable home systems. So next slide. So since 1986, local and state governments established trust funds. All 50 states have trust funds. The funding source for housing programs, projects, matching funds, or federal grants maintain local and state control on housing programs and projects. Establish local and state housing policies, programs, and projects by legislation and industry. Housing trust funds are generated by various fees. So Guam's housing trust funds were created many years ago by former senators such as the late Speaker Ben Pangilinan, as well as Speaker Judy Wampat, former Speaker. So that's what established Guam Housing's trust fund, and that allows us to do the programs and that I'm about to show you going forward, as well as provide for additional lending income or lending capital. Next slide, please. So the first-time homeowners assistance program, basically, these are the requirements to be able to avail yourself of this opportunity. So 5-year resident of Guam, U.S. citizenship or permanent resident, who are first-time homeowners. Pre-approval by participating bank and financial institution. Purchase agreement or construction contract no more than $300,000, must participate and complete a home ownership education workshop online. So basically this program, if you qualify for this program, and the next slide is going to kind of show the economic impact of this program. You must be, of course, the first-time home buyer. You can get up to $10,000 towards closing costs on your purchase of a home, up to $300,000. Basically, it's 4% on the closing amount. So the example here would, this went up to 300,000. Go back to the slide first. This went up to, back a little bit. This went up to $300,000 because of the real estate industry requested. It used to be $250,000. So the max amount you could get would be $10,000, which is 4% of $250,000 towards your closing costs. Now, the reason why this went up to $300,000 is because, as you know, the mean income or the mean price on affordable housing or housing in general now is really creeping up. So it was kicking out people who, you know, were trying to purchase a home and needed this assistance, but basically were falling short because it's hard to find a house right now for most middle-income families at $250,000. So we raised it to $300,000, but the cap is still $10,000 towards the closing cost. The next slide is really where the rubber hits the road here. Since the inception of this program 6 years ago, 550 families have availed themselves of it, totaling $3.5 million in terms of grant proceeds being issued. The economic activity associated with is $113 million. Now imagine, this is just the loan portfolio. This is the cost of construction or purchasing the home outright. So you can imagine, many of us know when you buy a new home, one of the first things you have to do is go and furnish it, all the other things you have to do in order to make your home suitable to live in and comfortable. So this number, I'm sure, is quite a bit larger in terms of economic activity, probably why Home Depot moved to Guam. I'm not sure, I'm just kidding. Next slide, please. So this is a snapshot of what has happened in the last 8 years. Not being political, but this was under the Cabo Tenorio administration. 1,600 units have been completed with HUD funds. These are affordable or otherwise housing units. Many of you know the developments that have come out, Cortec and the like. Some of it is in the affordable range. Some of it is basically based on the tax credits providing housing for the people of Guam. Another 400 are proposed. I believe that's in the next slide. This is where we like to say basically that with the grant program under first-time homeowners, 500 of these were at below medium $200,000 cost. A lot of these people that either financed with Guam Housing Corporation or the traditional banking institutions more than likely would not have been able to close on that loan had they not had that grant program. So it's not to say the 400 homes wouldn't be in inventory, but would they have gone to folks who otherwise couldn't have afforded a home? So we believe we've placed a minimum of 500 families based on this program alone. Next slide, please. So basically these are proposed projects, public and private. As we know that land management's entertaining a lot of applications right now and the like, so there's a lot that's on the horizon. But this is of what we know of right now, 164. This I wanted to talk about a little bit in terms of potential down the road expansion and economic development. We all know that there are some troubles right now with CLTC, but in my opinion, having been the director of land management before and overseeing these programs, I believe CLTC is here to stay. I believe a Chamorro Land Trust will be sustained. It's something we need for our people. It's something that we have to have. It's something that other places like Hawaii and states have homesteads. I believe it will withstand any legal argument, and I believe CLTC is here to stay. Chamorro Land Trust has a premier project that is already pretty much completely outfitted. And one of the nice things about this particular 164 single-family lots is is that because it includes infrastructure proposed, the lots are smaller than the required half-acre lot where you have to put in a sewer, or excuse me, a septic system in order to be able to, to conform to building code and for sanitation and all the other, requirements of land management and the laws of Guam. So this is really the way land management wants to go moving forward. Chamorro Land Trust wants to go moving forward, is to have planned developments so that you have the amenities within the development, sidewalks, curb and gutter, things that are really a planned community, as well as you have roads that are properly outlined and the like. Right now there's a lot of problems with surveys and different things. So this is one of the premier potentials coming up. There is a private development that abuts it, and they are offering the Chamorro Land Trust Commission to work on commingling the costs on infrastructure and the like. So this is really a premier project coming up soon. We have 57 lots in our inventory, Saginaw and Adson. That's Dollar Home area up there in Estumbo that Guam Housing is going to continue to develop. They will be for eligible land trust recipients. We are aware of 87 Windward Hills Village, 87 units, 50 in Villa Del Mar, Totu, 13 Saginaw Bonita, 7 Tahi Village, and 10 Tahi Phase 2. Next slide. Here's where I wanted to really kind of highlight today an exciting opportunity for I wouldn't even say middle, I would say to the low income folks on Guam, particularly on Chamorro Land Trust property. This contractor, Mr. Lee, came to us, BW4 Corporation, came to us about a year ago. And one of the mandates of Guam Housing is to provide opportunities for affordable housing. And so our board entertains and qualifies qualified contractors to provide affordable housing to the people of Guam. When we approve it, what we do is we put our stamp on it by the number of properties that we have. We build model homes. So we built one last year. It is up for sale now. It was a building system that came in around $120,000, fully concrete, and quite small, but still, good in terms of being fully concrete and insurable against all perils. This particular model is a concrete and metal combined system. It is insurable for local insurance companies has written off their letter that they will insure this structure, and it has its engineering report, and the first plan should be stamped in the coming weeks for this particular model of home. What you're looking at here on this particular display is the 4-bedroom model. This is the largest model, and this will be at or below $100,000. All complete, out the door. It is quite small. It is about 980 square feet. It exceeds by about 10% all of the Chamorro Land Trust requirements for square footage from 1 bedroom to 4 bedroom. We wanted to feature the 4-bedroom today just so that you can, kind of, the layouts are all similar. It's aesthetically pleasing. There was a design change. The contractor's in Korea right now getting ready to ship out the first 10 units. There was a design change before this metal system was corrugated. Now it's been re-engineered to be a panel, so it is a flat surface. It's not going to be corrugated like this anymore. It has an option for solar for $10,000 more. The contractor believes that the solar would take up minimum of 90% of the energy needs because of the insulation factor and other factors of this home. One of the features that makes this home very affordable is the fact that about 60% of the home comes in a container. The rest of it is, of course, it's a concrete foundation. It's got 4 concrete pillars, and then the metal system is in between and the partitions inside. Of course, the outside is heavier metal, inside the lighter metal. Finishes really quickly. The top has the metal system as well, but it does have a concrete slab on top as well. So the roof is semi-concrete. So basically, those are the. I'm not a salesman for the company, but because the board put the guy through the ringer in order to make sure that the system is going to work and insurable, you know, we had to get the in-depth information about what this system was going to be all about. And of course, you know, we made sure that all the engineering reports and it's going to be stamped by DPW and everything else. So you can come up here afterwards. If you have any questions, I can refer you to the contractor. But essentially, in a nutshell, that's what this building system is. When our board deliberated pushing this building system, one of the main reasons why is we did some cost research, and some of you in real estate here would know this. By the time you actually put a 40-foot container on a piece of property, by putting in sewer, water connections, power, everything else, proper foundation in terms of footings and the like, tie downs, that's not even insurable. You will easily get to around $60,000, $65,000 for a container that's not insurable. The metal on the outside of this building is twice the gauge of container gauge, and it's engineered very well. We believe this is going to really transform Guam's market. One thing also is there's always sensitivity in terms of the market and you know, is it a disruptor or whatever. We don't believe that. If you look at probably 80% of the people that walk through Guam housing stores, they walk out either, you know, not filling out the application, or right now we've got about 20 million in our pipeline. We've got maybe $1 million left for this year for lending. And the fact of the matter is probably 50% of those applications are you know, we could approve. And so this is the category of those folks who basically, you know, they really have no other real opportunity for us for a suitable structure on either a piece of property that they have or if they were eligible under Chamorro Land Trust. So we think that this will be a game changer. I also like to call this the son move out of my house home. A lot of people on Guam, as you know, we have a lot of property but not a lot of cash. And some of our kids coming up, maybe they're just starting out in life and you know, they don't have the greatest job in the world, but if they were to build a 3-bedroom at about $75,000 here and finance it over 25 years, it's probably the same price they'd go out and buy a new car with insurance. And so, you know, either if parents have contiguous property and they just want to make more room and a better living situation and kind of elevate the, you know, the lifestyle of their children and their grandchildren too, we look at this as probably going to be a very marketable system as well for those who, you know, who would do that. And now, finally, I know there's probably going to be a question about VA. Guam Housing Corporation is the only financer for Chamorro Land Trust property. There are some banking institutions that are looking at considering either through their board or through legislation, and maybe they have to work with their federal counterparts depending on how they write the loan. But some financial institutions with opportunities like this that we've spoken to are looking at considering financing Chamorro Land Trust properties as well. I think, especially like based on a development that like CLTC is planning on doing, I think if you get in there and you do a tract housing system, you know, where it's really, you know, a housing system that you could turn over, and if somebody did fail, it would go to the next recipient. I think you could get, you know, banks that would buy into that. You know, I know some of you might laugh here, but the full faith in government, you know, trust of the government of Guam, backed up somehow by legislation and the like through the land trust program, where these homes would be built, but they would be able to be foreclosed upon. I think that is really the key, you know, the difference between fee simple and property.
That's the problem now with,
right,
with the Chamorro Land Trust.
Correct. And so I think there might be a workaround on that. I mean, let's face it, there's two things that complicates the Chamorro Land Trust if you look at it, when you look at folks wanting to put a significant investment, right? Is your neighbor going to secure their property, and are they going to have a suitable structure on that property? And you know, and if you're going to put the investment in on that property, will there be enough infrastructure to support, you know, a nice piece of real estate that you're willing to develop? And so I think, you know, that's where the government's going to have to really work with the private sector going forward, and to make sure that these communities, you know, are planned communities going forward. I think that's just good for our people and good for the government, and just good overall environmentally as well. So anyways, that's kind of a bigger picture of, you know, what opportunity may, you know, come on board with regard to this building system. Once again, the cost range, $65,000 to just under $100,000, 1 bedroom to 4 bedroom. And also, of course, this is available for private development. This is not just designed for Tomorrowland Trust recipients or properties. This is a building system for the people of Guam. Next slide. So just a little bit about what Guam Housing will be doing, down into the future. This is a property that we have up in Jigo, and basically this works out to about 26 acres. We'll build our model units for these units, a 3-bedroom and a 4-bedroom up there. And then eventually the long-term plan is to build multiple family dwellings on the balance of that property. Maybe a few more single dwellings, but we're going to go to multiple. I had a question the other day from a developer, asking me, why hasn't Guam Housing moved on this? And, frankly speaking, if you look at our inventory right now, most of our rental properties, they were built in the 60s. And so it's understood that they would be in disrepair. But it's very hard for the government to consistently maintain properties. It really just is. It becomes a financial issue, and so I think the better way to do this is to really seriously, the board has given me the direction, and we're looking at ensuring that even if we use federal programs, that we have private partners. I think if you look at some of the private developments around Guam, and to include schools that are under contract and the like, they're well taken care of. Teachers can work on teaching and learning and not worry about facilities. Same thing with home developments. If you have better maintenance crews and a longer term plan, the upkeep and the overall community, I believe, stays much nicer, and it's a much better opportunity. So that's just our perspective at this point with this particular piece of property. I don't know if any of you are familiar, or some of you may be familiar with Sigua Highlands. That's a huge property up in the Ordad area. Chalampago area, kind of where Leo Palace is. Used to be the Dwight Look property. There's a major investor that purchased that property. And so 250 units of this system are planned for that as well. Dan Swavely and his group are going to build 2 of these model homes as well. And so you see private investment in this affordable housing plan as well. And so they're mandated through their development and regulations for development reporting to land management, to develop affordable housing. So they're looking at, they've been given the go-ahead from their company to build up to 250 of these units, or affordable housing anyways, and they're looking at these units to start out with. So last slide. Okay, open discussion. Any questions for me? Yes, sir.
Most of these units are single-family dwelling units.
That's correct.
Guam has a difficult problem. The statistics, last time I checked, were that we had the lowest per capita income of all the states.
Right.
Lower than Mississippi.
Right.
Our cost of living is up among the top 6.
Right. So
there's a tremendous bind. Most of our many of our single-family dwelling units are occupied by a lot of families. I think our laws defined single families as an extended family.
Right.
I have a neighbor with about 6 families living in a Jonestown house. There must be 15 children there. Yeah. which is fine. They need a place to live, but but the infrastructure is not built for that many people in a single-family dwelling. Right. Have you considered that maybe we're ghettoizing these single-family dwelling units, knowing that there will be multiple families living there? Economically, they have to. Have you addressed that issue?
I think that's why I said that, and hopefully whoever comes after me will continue, and we'll do a transition here soon, I'm sure, and turn the notes over and the keys over to those who will take over. The fact of the matter is that is the plan for at least the government property and Guam Housing's inventory, is to go to multiple family dwellings. The reason why we think we got to fill the gap right now with structures such as this and affordable housing is because if we don't have something that's in the reach or the attainment of those who are getting land from the government, that's what you're asking for, is ghettoizing those properties where they'll park whatever structure, put a container, maybe not even tie it down properly, and do whatever they can just to put a roof over their head. So this is probably a very interim solution. Like I said, I jokingly said, this is son move out of my house property, there is still a lot of families on Guam who are land rich but cash poor. You know, so if they have their own, 100 square meters or whatever else it is, you know, to build a structure on, you want to at least provide an opportunity for a structure that's substantial, can withstand Guam's perils, and also is aesthetically pleasing and not doing what you're saying, which is to maybe ghettoize. But I think the government should continue, should lead in that area, and Guam Housing with its property inventory, other than those lots that are already set up for single family buildings, should move towards multiple family dwellings and maybe even, at a minimum townhouse setups, but definitely we're going to have to move to multiple family buildings. I agree with you, sir. Yes, sir.
Senator, thank you for the presentation. It's really an eye-opener. You touched on how Guam Housing is the only organization that is able to finance Chamorro Land Trust. I heard that you can also work with VA
Correct.
to finance Chamorro Land Trust.
Correct. I should clarify that. My apologies. Yes, the VA is definitely a lender. They have worked with us. We've done a couple of financings with VA already. Typically, VA looks to partner, and so Guam Housing is actually that vehicle as well. Normally, they will take the lead and will take a subordinate position, but we do complement the financing, and VA tends to want to do it that way, particularly on Chamorro Land Trust properties. I was speaking more so to the fact of conventional banking, but you're absolutely correct. Thanks for bringing that up. The VA does do financing on Chamorro Land Trust properties, and I'll repeat, likes to partner with local institutions, and so Guam Housing being the only current lending institutions, we've partnered with them on several loans to build on Chamorro Land Trust properties. Yes, sir.
Are the majority of the loans that Guam Housing gives for Chamorro Land Trust properties, or for people that own, like you said, families that own the land?
Actually, good question. Actually, more conventional. I think that the ratio is probably 90-10. We have, I think, our current, our total to land trust is probably somewhere in the 30 and 40. Our portfolio is about 400, 430. Okay. And so yeah, it's primarily individual fee simple properties, either purchase or construction. We just see that as a factor. I mean, a lot of folks have come in, and right now, unfortunately, we're co-located with land management and in the same building, and a lot of folks will come in and they're ready to build. They got problems with their lot configurations or easements or rights of way and stuff like that. So we think that it's not only just infrastructure overall in terms of the land trust properties. A lot of them are still larger properties in the half-acre range. And so folks, would be otherwise ready to build, but, they've got to have an access road. They've got to have, a minimum of proper setbacks and proper easements in order to be able to do it. I've seen where, maps have come in and and there's utility poles right in the middle of the road and everything else. It runs the gamut, right? So I think there would be more conventional, Guam Housing loans for Chamorro Land Trust property, but for having to work out, better surveys and better infrastructure development. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Ainan. I've been living here in Guam for 35 years. I have a question. It's not a Chamorro Land Trust land, but we got donated from government of Guam to build a homeless shelter in Dededon.
Okay.
Well, because of the budget, we won't be able to build at this time. We are doing some fundraising, but it costs a lot of money. Right. We have about 40 to 50 homeless Korean citizens that need a shelter. So we got donated from the government 1 acre. Okay. But is there a way that the Guam Corporation, House Corporation could be able to help, like bill and then we pay monthly?
That's one thing that we're, we really, at this point, we're writing about maybe 14 to 16 loans a year. But like I said, our pipeline is about 20 million. Yeah. We're really a small staff. We have 23 people. We have 2 loan officers. It's really a compact organization. We do a lot with very little, honestly. But the fact of the matter is that right now we're undercapitalized. I think, you know, ventures such as this and others going forward, I think are going to spur enough excitement around Guam Housing Corporation, and the interest rates right now also that are adjusting. You know, one of the problems is that for us, you know, even to borrow money, to relend, you know, that it just became so unfavorable when the interest rates were so low. We can't compete, and we can't make any money on B paper to sustain us going forward. So until we're capitalized better, I would say that's probably going to be tough. When I look at Guam Housing Corporation, and like I said, with our property that we're planning to develop, if we do partner, you know, with developers, I think the way to go for Guam Housing in the future is basically partnerships, public-private partnerships, maybe being some sort of loan guarantee, ensuring that the government of Guam would back it up to a certain amount of money. And so, but right now, without the trust fund, you know, getting a major cash infusion and capitalized right now, we're kind of just surviving and paying our bills and managing our rental properties. But the fact of the matter is, you know, our portfolio right now is right around 32 million. Our overall assets and out the door, we're worth about 36 million. And so, you know, but unfortunately, we can only write, like I said, 14 to 16, maybe 18 loans a year. But the need is there because the applications are there. But the fact of the matter is, we just need more capital.
So you don't consider a non-profit organization is asking for a house to be built? You don't consider on your list?
Right now, the way our mortgage lending goes, it's for single-family dwellings.
Single-family.
Yeah, it's not multiple dwellings at this point, unless we're developing it ourselves. But that's where I'm saying I think down the road, the corporation is well positioned to do bigger, you know, projects under public-private partnership opportunities.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? All right, I hope it was useful today, and once again, thank you for this opportunity to join you and say a few words.